Hello everyone, and welcome to the new series, What If Civilization Started Over Alternia? So, this is the map. Yeah, this is completely different, as Atlantis is here and all the ancient continents, except for Doggerland. I didn't feel like adding Doggerland was an interesting idea. And also a bunch of land changes were made all around the world, such as Cuba, Mexico, North Africa, the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea are one sea now. And so yeah, so we will begin our series over in Iberia. So yeah, now to make that opacity 25%. Yep, all right. Do we see civilization starting over in this little dot here? And as we know from every other series, it'll be red, except for WICSO restarted. That was rarely green, but red. So yeah, it starts in Iberia, and we see the Iberians push up. Now, since this is a whole alternate Earth, we can literally just go ahead and say that there's like no major geography other than the areas that haven't changed. So, like for example, the Himalayas will still exist because I mean Mauritius' existence probably wouldn't change that. And well, we're just assuming that this wouldn't have sunk all the other land in around the world. It did in our universe, but we're just assuming a lot of things when it comes to this map, so don't take it too personally. Yeah, the Himalayas will still exist. Like the Siberian region, I'm gonna say it doesn't, just for the sake of making this series very interesting. Like the Siberian, like the Siberian mountains won't exist, so it'll be a lot easier to go through this. Now it will still be cold, but it will be flat. It will be flat, so yeah, it's cold but flat, so it's a lot easier to go through Siberia. Mediterranean, like squeezing in with what Africa's taken, but it still exists. And the Bosphorus Strait ends up existing eventually. It's just going to be a little longer, but it serves as a trade place for all of these areas, not just. You'll see in the series. But anyway, with that being said, we see that the Iberians will explore into Catalonia, or at least what would be Catalonia. We also see them pushing up into Andalusia, and a lot of these islands are explored pretty quickly. Though we see that normal Iberia, at least in our universe, is explored, but in this universe, all this extra land here is Iberia. So after all that, all this extra land, now the entirety of Iberia has been explored. And well, the red team has a population boom, so they'll take no time in settling in their new lands. However, it ain't just the red team settling lands. As we see a little rival to the red team rise up. The Reds want to make an empire on all of Iberia. The Blues, however, disagree with that idea. They just want their own little country and their own little side of Iberia. And so, yeah. Now these countries are beefing about who can be the best. Who will be the best. Spoiler alert. The red team's got hands. Oh. So the red team's got hands. And they will take absolutely no time in completely annihilating up into the rest of Iberia along with this. And we see the blue team go up to here. And now we see these two going to war. Yeah. So these two are gonna keep holding the rivalry, so they're gonna be fighting up with each other. And well, at first the blue team has their victories as they're a little stronger. They do push into the south, or not a little stronger. They're evenly. The red team's stronger, but the blue team is pretty strong too. So they'll have their victories in their places. They aim to try to capture this area as this is not officially a capital, but it's very important to the red team as that's where civilization started. So they will spearhead to try to take that. However, up here in the north, it does not go very well. As well, the entire army of the red team has been prepared for this, and they'll have their losses here, but eventually it's all gonna go downhill from that. So they push up into all this land here. They push in there, but then they even push up the forces that were just occupying Iberia. And with all those forces being pushed out, now the entire military pushes in, and their important region is right there, so they go ahead and try to capture that with major success. They cut the blue team off the coastline, and it is here where they collapse. In the peace treaty, they will be fully annexed. And yeah, we're just back to one country now. However, not for long. As we see some people during the war are like, no, we don't support this war. It's like a percentage of the population, so they just decide to leave Iberia and then decide to leave through here because it's like this part is like pretty dang good to leave off of. And they discover pretty much a lot of France. Some of them decide to settle here, while some of them don't think that being here is enough. Some of them do settle in France, though. So, like 12% of the people that went in this think that being in France is good enough. But the other percentage want to go to farther away places. Like for example, we just make it to the Dutch, and the people who went on this think that settling in the Dutch is a good idea. At least some of them. Others think that's just not far enough. So some stay in the Dutch, some stay in the French, and then from here, from this part, they all split in half. One goes into the Italian peninsula and discovers all that. Well, of course, about all that. Well, all the Iberians explore these two, but the Italian peninsula is explored by those explorers. But others are like, yeah, we're simply just going to go through Germany and Prussia. So they do that. They head up into Denmark. Before some of them decide to settle up on Denmark. Just because they want to form a Danish empire. The furthest that these explorers go is over here in Prussia. That's where the rest of the explorers ultimately agree to set up on. As soon as they explore the rest of the Baltics and like a lot of Poland. Yeah, all of them, like a lot of them, pretty much, like the remaining group, pretty much all agree to settle up in Prussia. Welcome to the world, Prussian country. It'll be interesting to notice. Meanwhile, the Dutch are like trying to compete for an empire too. However, the Danish are a power in and of themselves, so they expand up in this part. Meanwhile, the French are also a power, and they connect up to the Mediterranean. We have a little bit of a competition between the Danish, the Dutch, and the French. We'll see where that goes. However, the Iberians will go ahead and get some land over here in France, splitting it up with the rest of the French. Meanwhile, the Romans, they would have started up their country right now. That's kind of my bad. So they get all the Italian peninsula. But the French and the Romans agree that they want a border. So we go ahead and see that the Italians will ultimately agree to make their border pretty much there, while the French border will run up on an angle here and go up to the rest of the country, just like that. And the Dutch, who are competing with the French, will take this corridor. Because it just makes a lot of sense. And then the Germans, who are competing with the Dutch, well, or not the Germans, the Danish, who are competing with the Dutch, will explore up into a lot more land. And second off, start to border match with the Dutch, as they will go a lot more south and ultimately trying to meet up with that same corridor. And it goes pretty damn well, actually, as they take a lot of what this land is. And all things considered, that isn't that bad. However, the Dutch will one up and take this little nub. The Romans are not a part of this competition. They are just not a part of it. They don't like this childish competition, so they just do their own thing. They do, however, take some land here just so the competition people can't reach it. And so, yeah, that'll be very interesting. Final event of this video, though. The Iberians go up to Corsica and Sardinia and take them. This makes the Romans pretty angry. No, it doesn't, actually. They didn't really want those islands. They actually settle up with the Iberians. They let them keep them. And so, yeah. After a little bit of exploration here, because I don't like how this exploration border looks, and they'll explore pretty deep into the Balkans. We'll see that after this exploration, that ends this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a new video. Peace out.